Amelia's hands trembled as she gripped the phone behind the kitchen's steel counter, her heart hammering against her ribs through the small window in the swinging door. She could see Gabriel Russo sitting at his usual corner table, completely unaware that in exactly 7 minutes, the man pouring his wine, his most trusted lieutenant, would give the signal that would end his life. She had two choices: stay silent and keep her minimum wage job, or speak up and risk everything against the most dangerous family in New York. Her finger hovered over the call button. The sound of approaching footsteps made her freeze. Someone was coming to the kitchen. Her time had just run out. What would she do? And how had a simple waitress noticed what an entire crime family had missed? Before we reveal how Amelia discovered the deadly betrayal, let's go back to where it all started. You won't believe how an ordinary Tuesday night shift changed everything. Keep watching to find out how one observant woman saw through the lies that fooled everyone else. 3 weeks earlier, Amelia Campbell balanced 4 plates on her arms with the practiced ease of someone who'd been doing this for 6 years. Belvita wasn't fancy. Red checkered tablecloths, artificial candles, and a permanent smell of garlic and tomato sauce. But it paid her rent in the Bronx and kept food on the table for her grandmother. Table 7 needs more bread. Marco the chef called out as she passed through the kitchen doors. Got it. Amelia grabbed a basket of warm focaccia. Her dark curls pulled back in a tight bun that had started to give her a headache 3 hours ago. Her feet ached in the sensible black shoes, and she still had 4 hours left on her shift. She'd learned early in life that survival meant noticing things. Growing up in the projects taught you to read a room, to sense danger before it announced itself, to understand the language of sideways glances and hushed conversations. That's why she noticed them the moment they walked in. For men in expensive suits, moving with the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. The other diners instinctively shifted in their seats, making themselves smaller, quieter. Even Carl, the owner, straightened his tie and hurried from behind the bar. Mr. Russo. Carl practically bowed. Your table is ready, sir. Amelia had heard the name before. Everyone in Little Italy had. Gabriel Russo, the youngest head of the Russo crime family in 3 generations, 36 years old, and already more feared than his father had ever been. She kept her eyes down as she approached table 7 with the bread, but she couldn't help stealing a glance. He was taller than she expected, with dark hair swept back and a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. A small scar ran through his left eyebrow, and his eyes, deep brown, almost black, scanned the restaurant with the alertness of a predator. He wore his power like a second skin, comfortable and absolute. Amelia. Carl's sharp whisper made her jump. You're serving Mr. Russo's table tonight. Her stomach dropped. Me? If you're enjoying this story and want to see what happens next, please subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything to us as we continue bringing these stories to life. But Callista called in sick. You're up. He thrust a notepad into her hands. And for God's sake, don't mess this up. Smile, be polite, and whatever you do, don't stare. Easy for him to say. Amelia took a deep breath and approached the corner table. The 3 men with Gabriel fell silent as she arrived, their eyes assessing her with the casual cruelty of men who viewed people as either useful or disposable. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Belvita. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Can I start you with something to drink? Gabriel's gaze lifted to her face, and for a moment the world seemed to narrow to just the two of them. His expression was unreadable, but something flickered in those dark eyes. Surprise, maybe, or curiosity. Whiskey, neat. His voice was deep, with a slight rasp that suggested too many late nights and cigarettes. The Mullen 25, if Carl still keeps it in the back. Of course, sir. She turned to the others. Same, said the man to Gabriel's right. Salt and pepper hair, expensive watch, the air of a right-hand man. The other 2 ordered wine. Amelia wrote it down quickly, hyper-aware of Gabriel's continued stare. You're new, he said. It wasn't a question. I've worked here for 6 years, actually. The words came out before she could stop them. Stupid, never correct dangerous men. but instead of anger, the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. Then, I haven't been paying attention. That changes tonight. Her pulse quickened as she hurried to the bar. What did that mean? She'd heard stories about the Russo family, the business they conducted in the back rooms of restaurants just like this one, the people who crossed them and disappeared. The empire built on fear and blood money. Easy girl, muttered Julia, the other waitress working tonight. She was 50 with kind eyes and hands scarred from decades of hard work. I saw the way he looked at you. Be careful. I'm just serving his table. That's how it starts. Julia squeezed her shoulder. With men like that, it always starts with a look. Amelia delivered the drinks with steady hands, took their dinner orders, all steak, all rare, and tried to remain invisible. But throughout the evening, she felt his eyes on her. When she brought the food, when she refilled water glasses, when she cleared plates, the men talked in low voices about shipments and territories, payments and problems. She pretended not to hear, but her survival instincts were screaming that something was off. The right-hand man, she heard them call him Henry, kept checking his phone. Small glances, nothing obvious, but his jaw was tight, stressed, angry about something. Everything all right with your meal, Mr. Russo? She asked when she came to check on them. Perfect. Gabriel's gaze held hers for a beat too long. What's your name? Amelia, sir. Amelia. He tested the word like he was tasting expensive wine. Beautiful name. Henry cleared his throat, breaking the moment. Boss, we should discuss the Brooklyn situation. Gabriel's expression shifted, closing off like a door slamming shut. He was all business again, and Amelia took the opportunity to escape to the kitchen. He asked your name, Julia whispered, eyes wide. It doesn't mean anything. But when the check came over $800 for dinner, there was a $1,000 tip attached and a business card with a single phone number written on the back in elegant script if you ever need anything. R.S. Amelia stared at the card for a long moment before slipping it into her apron pocket. She didn't know what game Gabriel Russo was playing, but every instinct told her she was already a piece on his board. What she didn't know was that by tomorrow morning that card would save her life and his $1,000 tip and a personal phone number. What does the most dangerous man in New York want with a waitress from the Bronx? And why did Henry seem so nervous during dinner? Amelia's about to discover that some observations come with deadly consequences. Keep watching to see how everything changes in just 24 hours. The next morning, Amelia's grandmother was already awake when she stumbled into their small kitchen. The business card still burning a hole in her pocket. You got in late, baby girl. Grandma Rose sat at the table, hands wrapped around her coffee mug, her silver hair in rollers. At 73, she still had the sharpest mind Amelia knew. Big tip last night. Amelia poured herself coffee, avoiding eye contact.
How big?
$1,000. The silence was deafening. Then what did you have to do for it? Nothing. Grandma, I just served dinner. Some businessman wanted to show off for his friends. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. Grandma Rose's knowing look said she didn't believe a word. You be careful, Amelia Marie Campbell. Men with money like that don't give it away for nothing. They're buying something, even if you don't know what yet. Amelia kissed her grandmother's cheek. I'm always careful.
You taught me that.
But as she rode the subway to her second job cleaning offices in Manhattan, she couldn't stop thinking about Gabriel Russo's eyes. The way he'd looked at her like he was solving a puzzle. The casual power in every movement. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Dinner tonight. 8 p.m. dress nice. Carl will pick you up at 7:30. R.S. Her heart stopped. How did he get her number? How did he know where she lived? She should ignore it. Delete it. Block the number. Instead, she found herself typing, I work until 9. The response came immediately. Not anymore. Carl will cover your shift. Don't be late. Amelia stared at the message. He'd already called her boss, already rearranged her life without asking. The audacity should have made her angry. So, why was her pulse racing with something that felt dangerously close to excitement? Bad idea, she muttered to herself. Very, very bad idea. At 7:25 p.m., she stood outside her building in the only nice dress she owned, a a simple black number she'd bought at a thrift store for her cousin's wedding 3 years ago. She'd let her curls down, and they framed her face in soft spirals, a touch of lipstick, small gold earrings that had been her mother's. A sleek black Mercedes pulled up exactly at 7:30. The driver was built like a linebacker, no neck, hands the size of dinner plates. He opened the back door without a word. Amelia took a deep breath and got in. The restaurant was nothing like Belvita. Dante's was exclusive, the kind of place where reservations took months and the prices weren't listed on the menu. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters in tuxedos. Gabriel stood when she entered, and heads turned, not at him. Everyone here knew to pretend they didn't see Gabriel Russo. They looked at her, the black girl in the thrift store dress, walking toward the most dangerous table in New York. Are you game? He pulled out her chair personally, his hand briefly touching her shoulder. Even through the fabric, she felt heat. Did I have a choice?
No.
His smile was slow and devastating. But I appreciate the illusion of free will. Dinner was surreal. He asked about her life with genuine interest. Her grandmother, her double shifts, her dreams of going back to school for nursing. He remembered details from their brief interaction the night before. He listened like her words mattered. Why me? She finally asked over dessert. You could have any woman in this city. Any woman would come because of who I am, what I can give them. His dark eyes held hers. You came even though you're terrified of me. That's honest. I don't get a lot of honest anymore. I am terrified of you, she admitted. You're a criminal. She expected anger. Instead, he laughed. A real laugh that transformed his entire face. Finally, someone who says what they think. He leaned forward. Yes, I'm a criminal. I've done terrible things. I'll do terrible things again. But I've never lied about what I am. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be true. He signaled for the check. I want to see you again, Amelia, tomorrow. The day after. As many days as you'll give me.
Why?
Because when I look at you, I remember what it's like to want something I can't just take. The honesty in his voice stole her breath. This was insane, dangerous, completely wrong. 1 week, she heard herself say. I'll give you 1 week. Then we decide if this is as crazy as it feels.
Deal.
Over the next 6 days, Gabriel Russo courted her like a man possessed. Flowers delivered to the restaurant, a new winter coat, when he noticed hers was threadbare. Books she'd mentioned wanting to read, but more than gifts, he gave her time. They had coffee in the morning before her shifts, dinner every night. He took her to museums, to a jazz club in Harlem, to the top of buildings she'd only seen from the street. He told her about his father's death, the weight of leading a family at 28, the loneliness of being feared by everyone around you. She told him about her mother's overdose, raising herself while caring for her grandmother. The small dreams she'd packed away because survival came first. You're extraordinary, he said on the 6th night, his hand finding hers across the table. You don't see it, but you are. I'm ordinary, a waitress and a cleaning lady. You're a woman who's fought for everything she has and never lost her humanity. That's rare in my world. He stopped, jaw tight. That's everything. Amelia felt herself falling. It was terrifying and inevitable, like stepping off a cliff and discovering she could fly. But on the 7th day, everything changed. She was at Belvita for her evening shift when Henry walked in without Gabriel. He sat at the bar, ordered scotch, and made a phone call. Amelia was passing by with a tray when she heard. Thursday night, Belvita, 10 p.m. He'll be alone just like he asked. Make it clean. Her blood turned to ice. She fumbled the tray, glasses crashing to the floor. Henry's head whipped around, his eyes locking on hers. For one terrible second, they stared at each other. Then his face went blank. Got to go, he said into the phone, ending the call. Sorry. Amelia dropped to her knees, gathering broken glass with shaking hands. So clumsy tonight, Henry approached, his expensive shoes stopping inches from her hands. How much did you hear, sweetheart? Nothing. I wasn't. I was just passing by. Her voice was too high, too fast.
Good.
He crouched down, bringing his face level with hers. Up close, she could see the coldness in his eyes. Because if someone overheard something, they shouldn't. If someone got the wrong idea about a private conversation, he picked up a shard of glass, turning it in the light. Accidents happen all the time in kitchens. Slip and fall.
Cut an artery.
Tragic. Julia rushed over. Amelia, honey, let me help.
She's got it.
Henry didn't break eye contact. Don't you, Amelia? She nodded, not trusting her voice. He stood, brushed off his pants, and left the restaurant. Amelia's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the broken glass. Thursday night, 10 o'clock p.m., Belvita. Gabriel would be here, expecting a private dinner. Walking into a trap set by his own right-hand man, she had to warn him.
But how?
If she called, Henry might have his phones monitored. If she went to him directly, she'd be followed. And if Henry suspected she knew, her life wouldn't be worth the breath it took to scream. Amelia just overheard a death sentence, and the man being betrayed is the one she's falling in love with. But how do you warn someone when the traitor is his most trusted lieutenant, and when reaching out might get you both killed? The clock is ticking, and Amelia has to make an impossible choice. Keep watching to see how she risks everything to save the man who's changed her life. Amelia couldn't sleep that night. She lay in her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing through scenarios. Every plan ended with her dead, Gabriel dead, or both. By morning, she'd made her decision. She pulled out the business card Gabriel had given her that first night. If you ever need anything, he'd written, she needed him to stay alive. At 6 a.m. she texted, need to see you alone. Urgent, please. The response came in seconds. 1 hour. I'll send a car. This time, the car took her to a building in Tribeca, the penthouse. When the elevator doors opened directly into his apartment, Gabriel was waiting, dressed in dark slacks and an unbuttoned white shirt, concern etched across his face. What's wrong? Are you hurt? Did someone I need you to listen to me? She grabbed his arms, feeling the solid muscle beneath her hands. And I need you to believe me, even though it sounds impossible. He guided her to the couch, his hands gentle on her shoulders.
Talk to me. So she did.
She told him everything. Henry's phone call, the plan for Thursday night. The threat veiled as concern for her silence. She watched his face as she spoke, waiting for disbelief, for anger, for dismissal. Instead, he went very still, dangerously still.
Henry.
His voice was flat, emotionless, which somehow was worse than rage. You're certain you heard correctly? I'm certain. He's been with my family for 20 years since before my father died. Gabriel stood abruptly, pacing to the window overlooking the city.
He's my godfather.
The pain in those last words broke her heart.
I'm sorry.
She moved to him, her hand finding his back. I'm so sorry. You risked your life to tell me this. He turned to face her, his hands cupping her face with a tenderness that contrasted sharply with the fury in his eyes. Do you understand what you've done? If he finds out, if anyone suspects, I couldn't let you walk into a trap.
Why?
The question was raw. You barely know me. I'm a criminal. Remember, the smart thing would be to stay silent. Let nature take its course. Maybe collect a reward from whoever wants me dead. Because she stopped, the truth catching in her throat. Because why, Amelia? Because I love you. The words fell between them like a declaration and a confession. I know it's insane. I know it's too fast, but I love you, and I couldn't. I can't. He kissed her. It was fierce and desperate, his hands tangling in her curls, her body pressed against the window. She kissed him back with all the fear and hope and impossible love churning inside her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. I've been waiting for you my entire life. I just didn't know it until I saw you carrying plates like they weighed nothing, moving through that restaurant like you owned it. His thumb traced her cheek. You saved my life today. Now I'm going to spend the rest of mine making sure you never regret it. What are we going to do about Thursday? A cold smile curved his lips. The smile of a predator who just spotted prey. We're going to let Henry think his plan is working, and then we're going to have a conversation about loyalty and consequences. That's dangerous. Everything about us is dangerous, amore. He kissed her forehead. But you noticed what an entire organization missed. You saw the truth when everyone else was blind. That makes you the most dangerous person in my world. I'm just a waitress. No, his voice was certain.
You're so much more than that.
You always have been. The next 2 days were torture. Emilia worked her shifts at Belvita, pretending everything was normal while Henry watched her with calculating eyes. Gabriel continued his business as usual, giving no indication that he knew about the betrayal. But behind the scenes, he was moving pieces on a chessboard only he could see. Wednesday night, he showed up at her apartment. Grandma Rose took one look at him standing in the doorway, tall, dangerous, clearly wealthy, and crossed her arms. You the one who's got my grandbaby all twisted up? Yes, Mom. Gabriel met her gaze steadily. And I'm the one who's going to keep her safe. I give you my word. Your word? Grandma Rose snorted. I know who you are, Mr. Russo. I've lived in this city long enough to hear the stories. Then you know I keep my promises, the good ones and the bad ones. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is the deed to a house in Westchester. 3 bedrooms paid in full, and a trust fund that'll cover any medical expenses you might need. It's yours. No strings. I don't want her blood money. It's not for you. It's for Emilia. Gabriel's voice softened. She's been taking care of you her whole life. Let me take care of her. Both of you. Grandma Rose studied him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. You hurt her. And I don't care how many men you have. I'll find a way to make you sorry. If I hurt her, I'll hand you the knife myself. After Grandma Rose went to bed, Gabriel and Emilia sat on the worn couch, his arm around her shoulders. Tomorrow night, she whispered. I'm terrified. I won't let anything happen to you. I have men positioned around the restaurant. You'll be safe. It's not me I'm worried about. He tilted her chin up, his dark eyes intense. I've survived this long by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone who's tried to kill me. Henry made a mistake. He underestimated you, and he underestimated how much you mean to me. His lips brushed her softly. Trust me, I do. Then tomorrow we end this and we start our life together. No more hiding. No more fear. Thursday night arrived too quickly. Emilia's shift at Belvita felt surreal. Every sound too loud, every shadow a threat. Gabriel was scheduled to arrive at 10 p.m. for a private business dinner that Henry had arranged. At 9:45, Henry arrived with 2 men Emilia didn't recognize. They sat at a table near the kitchen, ordered drinks, and waited. At 9:55, the restaurant lights flickered off. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. Carl's voice came over the speaker system. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing technical difficulties. Please remain calm. The front door opened. Gabriel walked in alone as Henry had requested. He looked relaxed, hands in his pockets, completely unaware of the danger. Henry stood, a gun appearing in his hand. I'm sorry, Gabriel. Business is business. That's when the other doors burst open. 15 men in tactical gear flooded the restaurant, weapons drawn. Not aimed at Gabriel, aimed at Henry and his men. Gabriel's expression shifted from relaxed to arctic in a heartbeat. You're right, Henry. Business is business. He walked forward slowly, like a big cat approaching wounded prey. And the business of betrayal has a very specific price. How did you? Henry's face went white. You've known me since I was 8 years old. Gabriel's voice was conversational, almost friendly, but his eyes were dead. Did you really think I would notice you've been skimming from the Brooklyn shipments, making side deals with the Russians, planning to sell me out and take over? Who told you? Henry's desperate gaze swept the restaurant, landing on Emilia behind the bar. Her? You're trusting some waitress over me? That waitress has more loyalty in her little finger than you've had in 20 years. Gabriel stopped in front of Henry. She risked everything to warn me. While you who I called family sold me for what?
Money? Power.
You're weak, Gabriel, just like your father. Sentimental. She's made you soft. Henry spat the words. You'll be dead within a year. Maybe, but you won't be alive to see it. The gunshot was thunderous in the enclosed space. Henry dropped, a bloom of red spreading across his chest. Gabriel turned to the two men with Henry. You have two choices. Swear loyalty to me right now, or join him. They were on their knees in seconds, pledging their allegiance. Gabriel's gaze found Amelia across the restaurant. The coldness melted from his eyes, replaced by something that looked almost like relief. He crossed to her, his men discreetly removing Henry's body. It's over, he said softly, pulling her into his arms despite the blood on his hands. You're safe now. She should have been horrified, traumatized, disgusted. Instead, she held him tighter. Are you okay? He laughed, sharp and painful. You just watched me kill a man, and you're asking if I'm okay. He was going to kill you. He was. Gabriel pulled back, studying her face like he was seeing her for the first time. And you stopped him, my smart, brave, extraordinary Amelia. He kissed her, not caring who saw. Marry me. What? Marry me tomorrow. Tonight, whenever you want, but marry me. His hands framed her face. I've lived in darkness my entire life. You're the first real light I've ever known. Don't make me go back to the dark.
Yes.
The word came without hesitation. Yes, I'll marry you. Around them, his men erupted in applause and whistles. Even Carl was crying behind the bar. Boss, one of the men called, we got a problem. Henry had a backup plan. Russians incoming. ETA 3 minutes. Gabriel's expression hardened. He turned to Amelia. Go with Marco. He'll take you.
No.
She grabbed his arm. I'm not leaving you. China, Amelia, you said we face things together, so we face this together. The pride in his eyes was unmistakable. He handed her a gun from his ankle holster. Do you know how to use this? A point and shoot, right? Despite everything, he grinned. Close enough. Stay behind me. If I tell you to run, you run. Understood. Understood. The Russians never stood a chance. Gabriel's men had positioned themselves perfectly. The firefight was brief, brutal, and decidedly one-sided. When the smoke cleared, Amelia realized she was still gripping the gun. Her hand steady. She'd been terrified, but she hadn't run. She'd stayed. Gabriel looked at her with something close to awe. You're sure you want this life? It's not going to get safer. I'm sure I want you. The rest we'll figure out. He pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. My queen, he whispered. That's what you are now, my queen. From waitress to queen. But the danger is far from over. How will Amelia adapt to her new life at Gabriel's side? And what happens when the other families learn that the most powerful man in New York listens to a woman they've underestimated? The final chapter will show you how love can be both the greatest weakness and the ultimate strength. Don't miss the conclusion. The wedding happened 3 days later in a small chapel in Queens. Grandma Rose cried through the entire ceremony. Gabriel's family, the legitimate members and the not-so-legitimate ones, filled the pews, studying Amelia with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. She wore a simple white dress and carried wildflowers. He wore a black suit and looked at her like she was the only person in the world. I, Gabriel Russo, take you, Amelia Campbell, to be my lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, to protect with my last breath, to love beyond reason. His voice was steady, his dark eyes locked on hers. I was lost before you. Everything I am now, I am because you saw something worth saving. Her vows were simpler. I choose you every day in every way, for all our days. When he kissed her, the entire congregation erupted. Cheers, whistles, the firing of guns into the air outside. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Russo, he murmured against her lips. The reception was held at an estate in Connecticut, rolling grounds, a mansion that looked like a castle, and security that could have guarded a head of state. Amelia felt like Cinderella, except her prince came with a gun and a rap sheet. You look terrified, Gabriel said, pulling her onto the dance floor for their first dance. I am. These people, your family, they're not sure about me. They don't have to be sure. I'm sure. That's all that matters. He spun her gently. But if you want to win them over, be yourself. The woman who saw what no one else could see. the woman brave enough to walk into a lion's den to save the lion. Over the next weeks, Amelia learned what it meant to be Gabriel Russo's wife. It meant luxury beyond her wildest dreams. A penthouse with a view of the entire city, clothes that cost more than she used to make in a year, cars with drivers, security following her everywhere. But it also meant danger. The Bratva, the Russian mob, wasn't happy about their losses at Belvita. They wanted revenge. Other families saw Gabriel's marriage to an outsider as a sign of weakness. "They're wrong," Gabriel said one night, pulling her close in their massive bed. "You're my greatest strength." He was proving it. In business meetings, he started asking her opinion. Her ability to read people, to notice the small details everyone else missed, became invaluable. "Your wife is sharper than most of your men," said Diego Mahler, head of another family. After a tense negotiation where Amelia had pointed out a clause that would have cost them millions. "Where did you find her?" "She found me," Gabriel replied, his hand finding hers under the table. "Best day of my life." But not everyone was convinced. 3 months into their marriage, Amelia overheard a conversation between two of Gabriel's captains. "He's changed since he married her. Too cautious. Too careful. She's making him soft. Someone needs to handle this before she destroys everything the Russo built." Amelia's blood ran cold. She immediately told Gabriel. His response was swift and brutal. He called a meeting of his entire organization. Every captain, every soldier, every associate. They gathered in a warehouse in Queens, confused and nervous. Gabriel stood before them, Amelia at his side. "Some of you think my wife makes me weak," he said, his voice echoing through the space. "Some of you think love is a liability in our business." The two captains who'd spoken went pale. "Let me tell you what my wife is." Gabriel's hand wrapped around Amelia's. "She's the reason I'm standing here today. While all of you trained, experienced, loyal men missed Henry's betrayal.
She saw it.
She risked her life to save mine." He pulled out a folder, tossing it to the captains. "Since she became part of this family, we've increased profits by 30%. We've avoided 3 costly mistakes. We've expanded into territories that were closed to us before." Gabriel's gaze swept the room. "My wife isn't my weakness. She's the smartest move I've ever made, and anyone who thinks otherwise can leave right now. I don't need men who can't recognize value when it's standing in front of them." Silence. Then, one by one, every man in the room knelt. "Mrs. Russo," said the oldest captain, a man named S., who'd been with Gabriel's father. "We pledge our loyalty to you. We were wrong to doubt." Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. Gabriel squeezed her hand gently. That night, back in their penthouse, he pulled her onto the balcony overlooking the city lights. "I have something for you." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside was a key, old, ornate, beautiful. "What's this?" "A key to my father's office. The real one, where we keep the legitimate business records, the plans for expanding into legal enterprises." His arms wrapped around her from behind. "I want you to run it with me, not as my wife standing in the shadows, as my true partner, my equal." "Gabriel, I never finished college. I don't have an MBA, or you have something better. You have instinct, intelligence, the ability to see what others miss." He turned her to face him. "My father built this empire on violence and fear. I want to transform it, make it legitimate. Leave something for our children that won't require them to carry guns and watch their backs." "Children?" Her breath caught. "Is that something you'd want? With me?" For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. Vulnerable.
"Yes."
She kissed him softly. "I want everything with you." 6 months later, Amelia sat in what had been Gabriel's father's office, now hers, too, reviewing contracts for a legitimate real estate development. She wore a designer suit, her natural curls styled elegantly, and commanded respect from men who'd once dismissed her as just a waitress. Gabriel walked in, pressing a kiss to her temple. "How's my brilliant wife?" "Your brilliant wife just secured the Manhattan project. We're officially legitimate developers now." "That's my queen." He knelt beside her chair, his hand finding her still, flat stomach. "And how's my son or daughter?" They'd found out about the pregnancy 2 weeks ago. Gabriel had cried. Actual tears streaming down the face of New York's most feared crime boss. Active. I think they have your stubbornness. God help us all. He laughed, then sobered. Are you happy, Amelia? Truly. She thought about the girl she'd been scared, struggling, invisible, and the woman she'd become. Loved, powerful, seen. I'm happy. Are you? I didn't know I could be this happy. I didn't know it existed. He stood, pulling her up into his arms. You gave me something I thought was impossible. Hope, a future, a reason to build something better. We're building it together. Always together. Through the window, the city spread out before them. Their kingdom now earned through courage and love, and refusing to accept the limitations others tried to place on them. Amelia Campbell Russo, the waitress who noticed what the mob didn't, had saved more than just Gabriel's life that night at Belvita. She'd saved her own, and together they were building an empire where love wasn't a weakness. It was the foundation of everything. 8 months later, Amelia stood in the nursery of their Westchester home. The same house Gabriel had bought for Grandma Rose, now expanded to accommodate their growing family. She held their daughter, Sophia Rose Russo, in her arms. The baby had her mother's rich brown skin and her father's dark eyes. She was perfect. Gabriel appeared in the doorway, still in his suit from a business meeting. His face transformed the moment he saw them, all the hardness melting into pure love. There are my girls. He crossed the room, wrapping them both in his embrace. Successful meeting? Very. The Chicago family wants to partner on the construction project. We're expanding. He kissed Sophia's tiny forehead. Our daughter is going to inherit something we're proud of. No guns, no violence, just success we built honestly. With a slightly questionable starting point, Amelia teased. Every empire has a questionable past. Ours just has a more interesting love story attached to it. Grandma Rose appeared in the doorway.
Dinner's ready.
And Gabriel, your mother called. She wants to know when you're bringing the baby to Sunday dinner. Tell her this Sunday, and that Amelia is making the final decision about the Boston expansion. After Grandma Rose left, Amelia looked up at her husband. Your mother still doesn't understand why you let me make business decisions. My mother's from a different generation. She'll adapt. He cupped her face gently. Do you ever regret it? That night you chose to save me instead of staying silent? Never. Do you regret giving a waitress your phone number? Best impulse I ever followed. He kissed her soft and sweet and full of promise. I love you, Amelia Russo. My savior, my partner, my queen. I love you, too, my dangerous, reformed, surprisingly domestic crime boss. Sophia chose that moment to grab her father's finger, holding tight. Gabriel's eyes grew misty. She's going to have you wrapped around her little finger, Amelia observed. Just like her mother, he smiled. That rare, genuine smile that he only ever showed his family, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Outside, the sun was setting over their property, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Business deals to negotiate, territories to manage, the constant balance between their past and their future. But tonight, they had this moment, this perfect, ordinary, extraordinary moment. A family built on impossible love. A kingdom earned through courage. And a future written by a woman who dared to notice what everyone else missed. Thank you all for following this story. If you enjoyed it, please write in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video as your support is important for me to continue creating content.